Hello everyone and welcome to the Next Level video game talk show. I'm your host Eddie Fisher, and the month of March has had a lot of really cool titles come out, and I've got a couple people here to help me talk about those. So to my right we have Greg Marsh and Connor Lang. How are you two doing?
I'm doing great.
Doing good.
We're doing a lot better than we were earlier. So the two we're going to talk about today is Devil May Cry 5 and one that I've been really jumping into, which is Sekiro. Is that what we're calling it?
Sekiro. Yeah. Shadows Die Twice. Yeah, man.
Right.
It just came out, right?
Yeah. So that one's pretty recent.
Very recent.
But Greg, tell me about Devil May Cry.
All right, Devil May Cry came out early at the beginning of this month. It's the first game in the past 6 years in the series.
Has it been that long?
It has been 6 years, yeah, because I looked it up. The last time that I had Devil May Cry was they had the prequel with Dante, where he kind of like started out.
Oh, and 3?
No, they just named it.
DMC.
Yeah, the reboot just called DMC. So they came out with that back in like 2013, and then it's been 6 years from that, and they're continuing the story from 4, but. The story's kind of convoluted. I mean, if you really want, it's just basically kill a bunch of monsters and all that kind of stuff. But the whole gist of it is there's this evil new demon that's more powerful than anybody, and it takes everyone to team together to take him out and stuff like that. And in the gist for the game, I mean, I don't know. The story itself is really good. It's just that sometimes with the story, I kind of get lost because I haven't played the game in so long, you know.
Well, the story, to be fair, the story is very weird because it's like you're the demon son of Sparta with a mortal woman, with a twin brother who was a knight. You fought a spider. I don't know what's going on in that game. Mundus is bad, I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's about right. And it's really just pays homage to all the fans that have been waiting for this game for a long time. What's really cool about it is you can have 3 different characters that you play as.
So I wanted to ask you about that.
So you can play as Nero, who is kind of like the new, like Sparta-style new devil hunter in a sense, and then you have a new mysterious hero called V, who I don't know.
Mysterious is quite right.
Yeah, so they reveal who V actually is later on, and you also have Dante. And what's really interesting with the 3 different characters is they all play differently. Okay. So. With Nero, he has something where he has, something happens to his arm. I won't say what it is because spoilers, but he has different interchangeable arms, kind of like a bionic man in a sense. So you can use these different arms to take on enemies in different ways. One of them just kind of is an explosive like attack. Another one, like you can ride it like an actual roller coaster and like go around and like fight your enemies.
Style thing?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
And then there's like an electric shock, and they have all different styles. If you like pre-ordered the game, you can get like a Mega Buster as one of your arms.
Really?
So he's more of like the standard fast-paced combat where the game itself is all about getting higher score for when you're taking out enemies. So you could start with like really low grade to level D, and then it goes up to like super S, like triple S, stuff like that, and it's got like super hard rock music when you're fighting in it. That's what's really good. And then you go from that, you go to V, who's actually super weak. Just think of like a really scrawny guy where you can put your hand around his,
hand around his wrist.
Yeah, you can put his hand around his wrist, and he's so tiny. And he has this like poem book, and he just says these weird limericks and stuff.
That's actually, so I watched some gameplay of that, and that's probably one of my favorite things is that he's just sitting there reading this little, my heart bleeds with 1,000 thorns.
Yeah, that's really what it is, because that's exactly how he talks too. He's just like, I don't know what's going on right now. But I can't do his voice, you did it way better. But what's really good though is you have his style character, and then he actually controls different creatures in a sense, like different demonic creatures. One's a bird, and one's like a panther.
Okay.
And then the bird has this over-the-top, like, think Aladdin, the parrot, like that.
Iago?
Yeah, I can't think of his name. Think like that style, like humor, and he's always just saying weird, funny stuff and stuff like that.
That's
but
awesome.
His combat, he's more back, and the other characters do all the damage for you, and the only way to take out the enemy is to actually have him finish the enemy.
Okay.
So the only way to move on to kill it, you have to go forward and do like a killing blow on it. So
I have to ask because I know a lot of people when Devil May Cry 4 came out, they hated Nero. They were like, he's whiny, he's emo or whatever. How did you feel about him in 4, if you can remember that far back, of course? Like, or at least like how do you feel about him in the new game? Because I always thought he was really cool with his chainsaw rev on his sword.
I mean, if you played the one back in 2013 and you kind of had that slapstick style humor that Dante had, I mean, he mimics that character a lot.
Okay.
So he still has that style, like over the top humor, and he does like almost like a Spider-Man thing where he says these like funny one-liners, like this in the demo that you try it out. Like you get thrown this huge car at you, and he just comes out of it and pops out, and he's just like, "What, is that all you got?" You know, and he says like he takes nothing seriously. So I think his personality is perfect for the game.
Nice.
Just that game itself is a serious, non-serious game combined into one.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
And then I guess with the non-serious part, have you done any of the game with these live-action cutscenes that I'm hearing about?
Oh, no.
Have you seen these?
Uh-uh.
So the I don't know if they're like the actors or something, but there's like these real people, and they've made these junky sets and used action figures, and they've recreated the scenes that are in the game. So like when he's jumping out of that, and they're doing flips.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I thought that was fake.
No, that's like you could watch the game with those cutscenes in place.
Really?
If you wanted
That's
to.
hilarious. I did see that though, like because in one of the scenes it just has this little guy, and he's just like this thing like that, and it has someone underneath him. I'm like, what's going on?
That's awesome.
With this, but
I agree that like the Devil May Cry series has always been like, it's got like a serious understory. Like the main plot is like, okay, yeah, you know, demons and whatever and monsters. You're fighting them, you're killing them, you're stopping evil from happening. But then it's like, I'm fighting in a bar, eating slices of pizza, you know, like while like trying. I don't know. Devil May Cry 3's opening act it's worth watching. So. But enjoying it though, like it holds true to classic Devil May Cry.
The game itself is honestly, the combat is very complex for what it is. It's simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it is a button masher, but in a sense, kind of like think of it how the Batman games are with like the Arkham style. Mm-hmm. You know, typically when you play those games, whenever I would tell my friends that started out, I'm like, when you play this game, try not to press the button as fast as possible.
Yeah, there's like incentive to time your.
Because if you hit the button, like let's say if you're triangle or whatever, Y, whatever you do, if you hit Y, and then you wait a second, if you're a little bit like almost in a rhythm with how you play the game, it just works itself together. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy how you can just combine all these different things together. And then even with Dante, he plays differently. In like the gameplay, he has like 2 dual motorcycles. He can like
gonna ask about those.
like hit at you, and then his is really complex because you have to hit like different button combinations to use like different styles, and each enemy is thrown at you in a different way, and it really feels like the old school way that you're introduced to an enemy. Like in the very first Mario, in level 1-1, you're just sitting there. And then the only way to move forward is if you go this way, right? Yeah. And then you see an enemy, and you got to jump over it. So it does the classic, here's a new enemy, we're introducing it to you. It gets its own little cutscene where it's like, and then it says the name like Blasher or something like that. And then you have to figure out how to kill it. And then it mixes all the other enemies together, kind of like if you ever played Bayonetta, stuff like that. So.
And that's another question I have. Like in the world of Bayonetta, where Bayonetta has kind of, I felt like, refined that kind of character action genre in the absence of Devil May Cry, do you feel like DMC still is like, no, we're the king of this, where Bayonetta's like the queen of it?
Well, I feel like they're almost on the same playing field. Yeah. Bayonetta and, because is Bayonetta still, is that Platinum?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, it's not Capcom, but. I mean, I feel Bayonetta borrowed a lot of ideas from Capcom. Capcom lately has just been like really doing well.
Yeah.
Like they've kind of came back, and there's been a lot of companies that have went down, like EA or Activision or Blizzard or whatever. I'm sure that was on another talk at another time about things, but they've really come to form with what they're doing with Devil May Cry, and it's just, I'm a really big fan of the series. So if you're not really into kind of weird over-the-top creatures where like they look like a weird hunched dog with a big arm on the back of their head and like eyeballs are flying out at you. If that doesn't seem interesting, you might not like it, but if you like kind of gory, fast-paced, even like I'm not really heavy metal, but it just all fits together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does well. It holds up its own. I mean, it's got really good reviews overall, like a 90%.
And it doesn't
Metacritic.
feel trapped in like the previous games. It feels like this is, I don't know, we're still going.
Yeah.
From what it sounds like.
Yeah, I hope it keeps doing well because they should keep making more games.
Yeah.
I hope. I mean,
Yeah.
it's because it was unsure if they were ever going to make one, but.
Yeah, and you're with Capcom too. I feel like they're gearing up for like, hey, let's test the waters a little bit with Dragon's Dogma. People seem to like that, I think, and like let's put out this edition, let's put it on Switch, and maybe we'll make a sequel to that. And it just seems like they're finding resurgence of things. Like Resident Evil 2 remake was phenomenal. So yeah, I hope Capcom keeps figuring this out and yeah, we see more from that. Like classic Capcom. They were one of my favorite developers back in like Super Nintendo and everything.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I mean, they did that Legend of Zelda for Phantom Hourglass. They
Yeah.
published that. So they do that again.
Yeah. Please bring us more of those fantastic games, Capcom. Oh man, yeah. Those Zelda games were, even the Game Boy Color games were
Yeah,
fantastic.
they're really good. I mean, and then to keep going with Zelda, doing the remaster this year for the Switch.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard that yet, that is.
So speaking of arms being cut off and then turned into a bunch of interesting things you could do with them, Sekiro,
However you want to say it. Yeah.
however you want to say it.
It's a theme for the month, is losing arms, I guess.
Yeah. Well, say like I always get thrown off because I was talking about this the other day where as a white guy, I feel like I can't say it the way that I feel like it's supposed to say it.
No.
Because it sounds like when they talk about the game, they call it Sekiro. And I'm like,
No,
I can't do that.
You
I
hear
can't
it from
say
so
that.
many streamers.
Yeah.
You hear it all the time when they first announce it at E3. And especially like when they first announce it, you'll hear it from the developers, you'll hear it from the team, and then you hear it from the announcements. And it's like 4 different ways to say it. So you got to roll with it and just like, yeah, this new game, I can't wait.
From's new game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no,
Twice.
that'll sell it too. Just say it's from Software, and Activision taking part of it too is great. So, but I love it. It's been great so far.
Yeah, so like I think the big thing for me was that this is a From Software game, and you go into it and you go, okay, yes, this is one of those, but kind of not at all. Like the combat seems very different.
You learn very fast, and they've made it pretty clear that yes, this is From Software. We're back. We're better than ever, to be honest. And I think they haven't really had something as loud as this since Bloodborne. I love Bloodborne. I definitely like it more than the Dark Souls titles, and hate me for that. But I think
no one should hate you for this.
No,
Bloodborne was great. It's
Yeah.
the best one.
and I'm glad it's a console exclusive. So, yeah. But no, Bloodborne brought so many new things to the table when it came to the health recovery by fighting aggressive, and especially the trick weapons. I love the weapons in Bloodborne, and it made it a little more simple, not wanting to deal with a lot of different types of weapons and stats, especially with armor too. They just simplified it and say, these are your weapons. There's different forms to it. Experience and enjoy it. They can come in handy in different situations, but once you kind of stick with it, you love it. And I think they've adapted to that more with Sekiro as well. You're stuck with the same sword the entire gameplay, and the new prosthetic arm system it's helpful. It's actually a useful system, though it depends on the situation you're in, especially like with the axe arm for shield enemies, and fire is effective for a lot of the bosses too, which I've come to learn, to help stop and kind of stagger in kind of tight situations.
I
But
thought I was so clever. I got to, what was his name? Chuzo
the drunken,
drunkard?
yep.
So I noticed he would have all this cloudy alcohol breath he would spit at you, and I was like, I'm gonna light it on fire. That's gonna do it. It's gonna beat this game, and it's not what you do.
No, it's funny stuff like that usually makes the From Software games so great. It is kind of the little things like that, and dealing with a lot in the environment, and you do that even more now, especially with the grappling hook, because a lot of people in the beginning, when first kind of reviews came out, they say it's like really hard. It's a very punishing game because they immediately tell you this is not a Dark Souls game.
Yeah.
You have your 3 methods of dodging, because you have your classic sidestep, you have a jump, pretty much for the first time, like kind of a
Like
legitimate
real
jump.
jump.
A real jump,
not
yeah.
not a sprint and then tap sprint.
Yeah, and that'll kill you any kind of time you try to use it to jump a ledge. But no, and then the most important thing is the parrying system with the posture bar, and I can't express how much I love that. I love that system so much. It allows players to play aggressive, and it rewards them unlike any other game, because Bloodborne did that well, that's with the health system, but this is such a time saver, and I can't wait for speedrunners to come out, because I can't imagine how just fast the game's going to move, and the sound is perfect, but with the posture bar, you could save so much time on a boss by only taking maybe half the health, but his posture bar goes all the way up, and you take away one of the main kind of health circles. And I think that's genius. It really rewards you for wanting to play that way, and of course then it punishes you if you're not willing to adapt to the rules. So I think From Software has done such a great job of kind of reinventing themselves while still trying to kind of keep that same love that the people have. It's difficult, but it's fair. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to those games.
That's absolutely agree. Like that's whenever, and it doesn't help that their website was called preparetodie.com, but but the games tend to show you that you messed up here. Like this was your fault, not ours. We didn't make this broken game. We didn't make Neo, which I loved.
No, it was a good game.
That feels like the game was just harsh on you. You'd do super well. You get to the boss, and the boss is like, hey, remember those Ninja Gaiden games? Yeah, if you're not perfect, you lost.
Right, exactly.
And I feel like in these games, in Bloodborne, Sekiro, the games train you on the way in. So I think, what you're saying about the posture bar and the things with the dodging and the parrying and everything, it's almost like they're vital now. It's not like, hey, you play sword and board, you can kind of bash your way through this. It's like, no, you need to know that these systems are in place. And the game shows you, like, this is how you should do it. This is where you might mess up. And hey, you messed up, so, which I've done multiple times already.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the way they approach encounters now? Because now it's got a lot more stealth. It's got a lot more verticality than these games have ever had, and it seems like a lot more avenues.
I haven't really taken seriously to any stealth games in a long time. I've always avoided like classic Splinter Cell series, or, titles like that, and the best game I can kind of refer to is Metal Gear Solid 5, one of my favorite games ever, and the freedom of that game is pretty much unmatched, I think, almost to anything, but this is kind of a good way to kind of describe it, because with Sekiro, stealth is so vital. I think it really is an important aspect of the gameplay. You can always go in sword slashing, the fun way, but no, it really is rewarding, and it's hard to pull off some good stealth. Because you may perform an attack, but it's kind of loud, and it typically does end up alerting most of the enemies. But it's one less thing you have to worry about, especially with bosses, because if you're able to kind of get a stealth kill on them, that's still one whole health bar gone. Makes the game go by quick, and whether you want to play aggressive with the posture bar or play stealth, it'll reward you if you want to take the time, be patient, and kind of learn that. But I think stealth was great to kind of add to the game. There was never really anything like that with the other From Software games, so I think it was a good addition.
And I like that they with Jozu, is that his name?
I think it's true. I think it's Chuzo. I don't know. I died to him a lot of times. I should know by now.
I read it like 15 times. I still can't remember it. But you could rush in with that guard or whatever he was, and you can run in there and start fighting everyone, and it's super cool. But if you sneak around, apparently you can get a stealth attack on this drunken man and take down half his health in one go. So
I did not know that. I wish I would have saved a lot of time and know that. I actually
it's hard to do though, because he's surrounded by so many people.
Right.
So like to sneak in there, it's like not only does it take a lot of time and a lot of skill, like you're saying, but it's not easy.
No, funny enough, because I always went through the side building and I stealth killed the NPC enemies. I always kind of went for the shield guy, because I think the shield enemies and the arrow enemies are always like the most annoying ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can always parry the other ones and adapt to that gameplay. Always kind of keep you on your toes, and plus the shield ones they're impossible to kill unless you have the switch axe. Well, not the switch axe, but like the
That's
axe
how I think
prosthetic.
of it, though,
Right?
It
Yeah.
switches off your elbow.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I did not know that. I wish I did. But I guess that's the kind of stuff you figure out if you want to take the time and kind of maybe poke buttons with the game and maybe kind of try to break the rules because it may end up rewarding you like that. But I actually skipped on the NPC. I knew the NPC was there to help you. I always kind of like to do the challenge a little more. I think it's a little more fun and funny enough, of course, when you end up beating him, if you can. He'll just kind of run out of nowhere and he'll announce who he is, and he'll just stand there for a second, and then he'll just stand there and do his thing, and then when you talk to him, he's like, "It looks like the area is clear," and nothing more happens.
so
I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
I was hoping to be more like like he runs in and is like, I did all the work here. I'm the best.
Yeah, no, I mean, even with as like kind of confused as he was and as serious a game as it is, it brought a chuckle to me because, you know, it kind of just takes away after such a stressful fight, and then all of a sudden this guy comes out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, you know, yeah, I forgot you're just kind of standing off in the brushes, and it just made me laugh, and it kind of took all that tension away.
Yeah.
And then I could just immerse myself again. So I thought that was a nice little touch, and then again, just little things like that. It adds to, you know, so many different ways you can choose to play the game.
So coming from the previous, like, well, Soulsborne, as they say, did it take you some time to kind of change how you play in Sekiro?
For sure. There's always kind of a learning curve when it comes to the Soulsborne series. I mean, even like jumping from the different Dark Souls to Bloodborne and then maybe back into Dark Souls, there's always little tweaks. But again, this is so different, and I think it's perfect for it. I think it's just such a great, refreshing taste for it by, you know, completely disbanding shields, and then just the prosthetic arm is a fun new thing to do, and then of course with the posture bar it just adds that tension and you know, that high risk high reward system that I think like, makes a player feel good.
Yeah, and it's rewarding, I guess not rewarding, but encouraging you to utilize all these systems, like to not just dodge but parry. And,
right.
The big thing, the big change I saw in the game that I was like, oh, I didn't even think about these being, like this being possible in a From Software game was a skill tree.
Yeah.
Like learning abilities.
Yeah, no, the skill tree has been really good too. I love the idea, especially like the punishment system where you no matter what, you lose half of what you earn, like the coin wise and then the experience wise. But when you do get the chance to use that skill tree, there's a lot of useful skills, the ones you equip and the passive ones that just stick with you once you unlock them.
I love being able to step down on someone's spear and
yeah,
then just
exactly.
like jump on their head.
No, and again, something small like that you only use oh so often in situations, but so vital when you have to actually use it. And I think that, you know, again, not having to switch between something like that helps. You can just have it off to the side and it's there when you need it. And then there's special skills that you could equip for certain situations. Like I think I have some kind of spiral slash that helps a lot in Chuzo's boss battle because there's just so many enemies. And if I could actually find the time and pull that off and not just hit one enemy but three, you know, it helps.
Yeah.
And I think the more you add on to it, I think, you know, it only just makes the game more fun, and that's what's more important than anything. It just, I think they really understand how to give good unlocks that aren't really stuff that you just push to the side and they don't really feel like, well, I need to just unlock it to get through the tree, but everything has an importance to it.
Yeah. I always appreciate that those games, like every system matters. Like, you know, utilizing it makes sense, and kind of not like playing the game like they want you to, but playing the game like they want you to.
Right,
almost.
yeah.
Like they designed it in a way that's like encourages you to do it, and there's a reason to do everything, and everything just really works. That's awesome. So if you were to say, or if you were to place this one, like in the Dark Souls and Bloodborne and all that, where would you put From Software's new game, Sekiro?
So,
Shadows Die Twice.
What about difficulty though too? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh yeah.
See,
Like,
yeah, a lot of different rumors, because again, I think I accidentally said this straight away, but in the beginning they said it was pretty hard. Definitely teaches you it's not a Souls game and you're going to learn that quick. And now that more people have had time to play, a lot of people are saying that, oh, it's easier. And for me, because I'm only 5 hours in and I struggle with these games, but that's the fun of it, I can see where a lot of people come from. because once you get that timing down with the posture bar and the parrying and everything, and especially, and again, even with little things like stealth, it saves you so much time on bosses, on just traversing levels and exploration, because you know these quips, and then you can read patterns even quicker.
Yeah.
And once you get that down, I think the game does seem a little bit easier. But again, you got to earn that more than anything. But I think it still presents a good challenge for a lot of people, and I think it'll be fun.
It's like, to answer even more, that if you get the parry system down, it's like you parry once and you just run right through someone and just keep going. Like you can one shot. So far that I played, you can like jump off something, one shot someone, parry their blade, one shot them. Like there's a lot of ways to murder enemies fast. So like a lot of it's more about situational awareness, I think, more than anything. And it has that little bit of tenchu element where you're like on the sliding on the thing. Can you stealth kill from a sidle on the side of a building? Like
I've tried. Definitely, like you sometimes get ledge kills like in different games, or if you hug the wall and you go around the corner. I haven't seen that bar come up. I'd like that to be an addition, but I can understand why. Again, that's more for stealth and not so much combat. If it is a thing, I'm doing something wrong. So.
I've never had anyone get close enough to me except for like a dog who's like, he's over here. So.
What about with like, the one thing I'm wondering about is what about, how those style games, you do something for 20 minutes and then you die and you got to go back and do it all again. Is that the same style with this too, where there's a lot of backtracking, or if you worked on something for so long and then you have to go back and do it all over again, so you start memorizing what to do in a sense?
There can be if you choose to farm and go through enemies, but because the game is so vertical thanks to the grappling hook, there's a section in the game pretty early on, within at least the first 2 hours, you'll receive a bell, pray to the Buddha, and then you'll enter a new world where it's actually a flashback. And a lot of that level is pretty straightforward, but there's so many diverging paths on the side where you'll still encounter enemies, but because of the grappling hook, you'll be able to just skip right past them and meet only minor inconveniences. And I think because of the verticality of the game, it allows you to skip a lot of that if you so choose to, make it go quicker.
Okay.
It allows you to get an even higher edge on enemies, whether you want to drop down on them. And then something I completely missed too, the eavesdropping system. Again, something really small, but I think it's great because a lot of the Dark Souls and Bloodborne lore you find through weapons and equipment, and you read the stories on that. And then with this, if you're close enough to certain like perfectly set enemies that are according to the world, you can listen in on conversations, and whether it's lore, whether it's just, based on the situation where they're invading a town and they're trying to get in through a door, or actually prosthetic weapon locations, you'll hear stuff like that. And, it pays off to want to be curious like that and have that patience to want to just sit down for a couple seconds and kind of listen and not just like slice some throats.
And it's neat too because they still do that thing where the world, like in that flashback, there's like this big gate that you can't get through, but the moment you work around and you kind of fight enemies or skip past them, you can get around to that gate and then you just open it up, and then you never have to deal with that side of the map ever again.
Okay.
Because you have no reason to go over there unless you really just want to go murderate some people. So they still do a lot of that connected world, and like you fight through a spot and you can easily get like past that now that you've opened up the shortcut to it. Or it seems like, I don't know if you feel this way, but it seems like the checkpoints are a lot closer than like a Dark Souls.
There does seem to be a lot of checkpoints, and
Good.
Good.
I'm good with that.
It's helpful for people like me, but I think it's kind of necessary too, because with the prosthetics, you can't just spam and you can't just use it however you want. You have to use spirit emblems, which again, it adds to that element of when do I want to use this? Is it worth it? Is it vital to the situation? Because there have been situations in boss fights where I don't have enough spirit emblems to use my fire or to use my switch axe on a shield enemy, and again, it makes you need to be aware of where you're kind of going with it. So with the added, well, even if they are closer, when you go to rest, you'll replenish what you have in stock, but you also use your coins to buy more of those. So I usually stock up at least a couple times when I go back to the prayer shrines.
So both these games being pretty like Japanese, I have to ask, because I tried to do this with Sekiro. Do you play, I would imagine you play Devil May Cry in English?
Yeah.
Okay. That one has enough attitude.
I don't even know.
Like,
I didn't even check to see if there was any different
Okay.
language, but if there would, that'd be kind of cool. But
by default, I feel like I keep changing how I say it. Sekiro. From's new game. It's by default. It's Japanese.
It is,
Did
yeah.
you stick with that, or do you? I ended up switching back.
I stuck with Japanese for a while, and then I switched to English, and I immediately switched back. Once you kind of get used to it, it's hard to go back.
Yeah.
And credit to the voice actors. I think everyone does a good job with that. But again,
like the English voice.
it's just what the ear appreciates more, I think.
Yeah, and the English voice is like every voice actor is just like, oh, so what's up with that?
Very, very stubborn, very straightforward. Yeah.
I'm a woman. Not just kidding. No one else.
Watch.
But yeah, I thought the Japanese did sound really good, but it was just there's actually a lot more story going on than any other From Software game has ever put in anything. I feel
Right.
like so Sekiro has more cutscenes, more like, hey, there's like you don't have to find this in a cove somewhere, and pick up a little trinket and go, oh, that's why that guy's name is Dave.
Yeah.
wasn't there with all those style games, they didn't give you anything, right? There was
Not really.
no story. You just kind of started and you just started playing and you started fighting stuff, and then you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Wasn't there some type of, I swear there's a contest to guess the plot of,
Maybe.
of Dark Souls, or write in, and if you guess what the plot is, then you get $1 million or something.
I believe it.
I don't know, but I know
I
there
would've
was some
never
game
won.
that did that,
No.
where to guess the plot, because it's just so all over the place with, they don't tell you.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool though, because you're spoon-fed so many things in
Yeah.
video games, and that's why a lot of people, these style games, I wish they had a super easy baby mode, then I would actually be able to play it, but I appreciate these style games because it makes you work for it, and then you feel that sense of accomplishment. At least I'm sure you guys do. I don't know.
I do.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
With some time.
Yeah.
And hair pulling.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I ended up I quit trying to fight the drunk man because I was like, maybe I'm just not getting it. And I went back and went to some other area that I didn't finish because I got that bell and immediately went back to the Buddha shrine to pray and was like, what's going on? But it's great because there's still all that mystery, I think, in Sekiro, but then they give you so much more, like who these characters are. You have a reason why you're doing this, and just, man, some of the shots that they do and some of the scenery they give is just, it's really good. I think it's one of the best looking games they put out.
The one thing that From Software always does when it comes to their games, and they're always consistent on, aside from combat, but the look of the worlds. I love Bloodborne's world, and that's why I love that so much.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for that kind of gothic lore, monsters and kind of twisted gore. And then with this, I love the ancient Japan, and yet of course you get the classic From Software supernatural. But the thing they nail the most of just the sound is so perfect, and that's that's other than actually making you good at the game. That's the only best thing about the posture system. Is just when the swords collide and it just sparks fly, and you just get the satisfaction of knowing yes, I blocked it, I'm learning. And then of course just the fountain of blood that comes out when you
Lots
finally
of
beat
pouring.
that. It is so good. It's no different than with Doom, where the music just fits, and you just love Doom. Doom's one of my favorite shooters, and I think that's one of those scenarios of where if the music is wrong, it changes everything.
Yeah.
You could still be fighting demons, but it's not the same. And even with Devil May Cry, if the music just fits, whether you're a metal fan or not, it flows, and it makes everything more fun.
It's vital to the experience, I think. And it's like Devil May Cry has to have that butt rock music. Forza has to have the music that it has, because the music sells me on the Forza Horizon, I should say. That music sells the game to me. And soundtracks and sound design are so vital to games. I think people need to pay more attention to those because I think it's
Oh
very
yeah,
important.
as a musician, I agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it tonight. I mean, thanks you two for tonight. It's the middle of the day. Thank you guys for
they
coming
don't
and talking
know.
about this. I haven't got a chance to play Devil May Cry, but I am very excited to go check this out. I was a huge fan of Nero and 4, so
Yeah,
I get to
I'd
play
say
more of him.
definitely try the demo out. It's free on the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Okay.
And they even updated the demo to put more stuff in it. So, but I mean, I didn't talk about this either, but the visuals on this game, it's the best it's ever looked. It does look like a next-gen game. I mean,
They're using the RE engine, right? Like that
Yeah.
new. That
Yep.
looks amazing.
And it's really just interesting how both of these games kind of are similar in a sense with not their like actual style, but like the music is a big part of it, and just the way that you have the very fast paced of a Devil May Cry, and this is more methodical. You can have that in Devil May Cry as well with like just a different style combat in a sense, but visually it's really good looking.
We're at the tail end of these systems where
Yeah.
where games are starting to look the best they could possibly look. And I'll be honest, when Last of Us 2 comes out, I think that's going to be like the peak. Like I really can't wait to
Yeah.
just. I want to see that game anyway, but just
Yeah.
like to see how well they've brought the PS4 along. Like can't wait.
No.
And of course, Sekiro is going to be one I'm going to play a lot tonight, and I'm sure I'll regret it in the morning.
Right. Yeah. Leave a bad taste in your mouth. So.
Yeah. But no, thank you guys so much for being here and talking about these games. And I can't wait for next month. We a lot of cool stuff. We got Mortal Kombat 11, which I'm sure where
Nice.
Eric's going to be very excited to talk about, and things like Days Gone, which sounds like it's
Yeah.
really turning around from what I've heard from
After the
all these
delays?
previews
Yeah.
and stuff.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
yeah.
they've
Looks
changed some
interesting.
stuff. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next level.